University of Florida is Coach Amanda Butler, Jatira Bonds, and Azania Stewart, our student athletes. We'll start off with...
It's gotta be in a cup.
Oh, you can just start with. I'm already hydrated.
We'll start off with 10 minutes of questions for our student athletes, and then we'll dismiss them and move on to the coach. Who wants to get us started this morning?
Who's ready, girls?
Wait, there's a question.
Yeah.
Would you like to say something to
Oh,
start?
it's just the opening statement.
Well, good morning, guys. To start with, we've obviously watched film on Baylor. We've started to get ready for them, and yeah, we're excited. Obviously, played a great game last night versus Ohio State. I'm really proud of our team. I think we executed the game plan very well. I think everyone underestimated us and got to see what Florida basketball was all about yesterday.
Okay, right here.
Bryce Cherry, Waco Trib. Jatira, how much of the Baylor Santa Barbara game did you guys actually get to see in person yesterday, and maybe what were your impressions up close and personal?
We watched the first half and maybe about 5 minutes of the second half, but I mean, they're just like any other team that I watched play. I mean, I didn't see anything spectacular that I seen yesterday, because I mean, to be honest, they played the 16th seed, so I mean, it wasn't anything special out of the norm that I seen.
Defensive-wise and offensive-wise.
Right. Obviously, watching film and seeing her, she's very mobile for a big player. But for me, I've played in the SEC and I've played overseas and against Olympians who are just as big and just as skilled as her. So I've had experience against players like that. So I mean, I'm confident and ready. I mean, got to be aggressive. You can't go in there timid at all. And so obviously I'll be starting out on her, and I'm not worried about it. I try my best, and my teammates have complete faith in me. I'm a very good defender, and I pride myself on that. So that's what I'm going to do.
Jack?
Jatira, yesterday you were put in a situation to make some big free throws at the end of the game. What was your mindset going into that? Were you nervous? Just tell us what your thoughts were that last minute of the game when you went to the free throw line.
We practice free throws. We shoot hundreds of free throws every day. Before practice, after practice, and I had a statement in my mind. I'm money in the clutch time. I went down and knocked down 2 free throws. You can't be too tense. You got to be calm, because if you think you're going to miss it, you're going to miss. So I went down there and knocked them down.
John?
Azania, John Wagner from the Toledo Blade. Good morning.
Morning.
Will you talk, you mentioned that you've played Olympians and others. So
Yeah.
Could you kind of run through some of the people that you've played against?
Well, I played against the Russians. They're kind of big in, not any big names particularly that you would know of. But I mean, the Russians there's a 7-footer, there's a 6'6", and very mobile. They play in and out from the basket. So it's just like a Brittany Griner kind of. I'm trying to think. The Germans play pretty big, and the Lithuanians. So I've had experience that maybe a lot of USA players haven't had.
And also for both you ladies, will you talk about how many times you have been the underdog? I mean, when I hear Florida basketball, I don't really say, oh, okay, that's an underdog, but
Right.
that is kind of the situation you face tomorrow.
Honestly, since I've been here, we've been the underdog. I feel like no one respects us, and so we got to go out there and take the respect.
For me, I mean, I just think about yesterday, just as an example, is just like, I think everyone was talking about Ohio State and really didn't give us any credit for what we had done, and it was all about them. And I think it's start time to talk about Florida. You know, what have they done and what they're going to do.
Any other questions for our student athletes back here?
Wendell Barnhouse, Big12Sports.com. For Jatira and Azania, you guys played a lot of close games and had a lot of close losses. What did you guys get from that that you might be able to use here in the NCAA tournament, particularly against Baylor?
I mean, we know how it feels to lose close games because we lost a few of those this year. But I mean, like yesterday in the huddle, Coach Butler looked us in the eyes and said, "We got this." And I feel like that when she said that, I looked around at everybody and I was like, "Oh yeah, we got this." Not because I feel like everybody believed that she believed in us and we believed in each other. So I think that statement just made it even better for us to go out there and win the game. And we had confidence that we would.
Even like Jatera said, that kind of just relaxed me. And I even got our girls together in the huddle, and I said, we've been here before. You know what I mean? We know what it takes. And I think everyone just looked at each other and was just like, we're going to do this. And that confidence in each other, I think, just pulled it through for us, and we got the win.
Anything different defensively that you expect to try against Baylor, considering where their inside force is, as opposed to yesterday? You know, it all starts with Browns.
I mean, not really. We're going to play Florida defense. We're not going to really change it up. We've seen that other teams have tried to double her. Hasn't really worked, so we haven't done anything really major. We kind of tweaked a couple things here, there, but nothing too great because they have great guards in Sims, and so we can't change too much for her, so that's what we plan to do.
Anything else for our student athletes? Great, ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can
Go
have your
Gators.
practice. Okay, who wants to start off with Coach Butler? Let's go right here.
Coach, I know you got a chance to see Baylor and up close and personal. I asked Jatera that question about, maybe what were your impressions that you didn't see on film?
From the live scout yesterday, well, because I got to spend some time with you guys right after our ball game, I didn't get out there right at the beginning, and so I missed kind of the way things how they separated themselves. But a lot of what we saw when we got back to the hotel and were able to get into their last few conference games and some of their significant non-conference games, and they're a great team. They're well coached. I think one of the things I like about their team so much is how Coach Mulkey just really makes it very simple. She puts her players in position to succeed, and they play their roles out very, very well within the structure that she provides them. But I think that it looked like what you imagine when you close your eyes and think of a 1 playing a 16, and so I don't think that game was. I don't think we saw any secrets. Nothing new was revealed yesterday.
Who's next?
Coach Wendell Barnhouse, Big12Sports.com. Kind of following up on the questions I asked the players about the close games. Baylor hasn't had many close games. Is one of the things you guys want to try to do is, keep it close and, try to, 5 minutes to play, put game pressure on them, since obviously they're the favorite to win, and, you could maybe make things kind of tighten up for them if you keep it close?
Oh, sure. I think if we do what we're supposed to do for a majority of the ball game, and we can make it what we call a possession ball game going into that home stretch. We certainly have been there a lot, and as these two shared, learned a lot of very valuable lessons this year, and I think we cashed in on some of those ones where we came up a little bit short earlier in the year with last night's confidence and last night's performance when Ohio State cut it to 2, and our kids refused to give the lead up and came back down and made plays and got stops and hit free throws. So, certainly that's our best chance. They can certainly overwhelm you. There's no question. They are very, very talented and special. Outside of their post game, I think there's a lot of attention paid to their post game, and rightly so. But I think you're making a foolish mistake if you overlook their point guard play, their size and length on the wings, and the job that Destiny does as Griner's post partner.
Coach, at the end of the game, you got the key basket from George. She had been defended well. They contested a lot of her shots and blocked them. Was the play called for her, or was that just the way that it worked out?
Certainly, she was the first option. We typically want to have a few different things that we feel like we can go to, and we wanted to try to get the ball in her hands. And Ohio State definitely had a little more size on the low block when George was down there. But that's not new. You know, Jennifer is 6 foot, and she was 6 foot when she was playing against 6'4" and 6'5" in all of our league play. And so some of the things that she faced yesterday and missing some shots or getting some shots blocked or, you know, that's just another day at work for her. So we weren't going to stop going to her just because she had missed a few.
John?
Coach John Wagner from the Toledo Blade. Will you talk a little bit, like I asked the ladies, about being the underdog? I don't, you know, Florida, an underdog are not usually put together, but facing Baylor and the #1 team in the country, that is kind of the role your team fills. Will you kind of talk about dealing with that role?
Well, again, I would echo what Jatera says. I don't think, you know, even in our league is so good and has been dominated by, you know, a few teams at the top for so long. We rarely have gone into, you know, matchups against the best teams with people writing headlines about what Florida's going to do. We're typically reading the headlines about our competitors and you know, what our chances are. And I think it was good mental preparation for tonight's game, or tomorrow night's game rather, going into Ohio State, because there wasn't a whole lot of talk about Florida except maybe that how excited we were to be in the tournament and we were one of the last 4 in. I think that was the headline we might have gotten, but it was like one of those sub headlines. It wasn't the main headline. So, you know, it's not a new role for us. You know, do we enjoy being the underdogs? I don't think our kids focus on it. I think that they've got a lot of pride in themselves. They got a lot of pride in their university. They take great pride in being Gators. And if someone overlooks us or discounts us or thinks we're going to be playing from behind, and that's a little extra fuel for our kids, then great. But it's not a new role, though.
Coach, you mentioned that, you know, everybody tends to focus on Griner and the post play kind of stuff, but, you know, obviously Baylor also puts really good pressure on the ball, particularly at the point. Any teams you face this year that, you know, are similar to that, and how have you guys handled that kind of pressure? And obviously it's not even full court, it's just, you know, the fact that they're denying everything and they're really getting into the defense.
You could pick out just about anybody in our league, and you would have that sort of pressure. I don't know how familiar everybody is with the SEC up here in these parts, but, you know, Kentucky led the league, led the country in turnover margin this year, you know, and we got the pleasure of playing them 3 times. So, you know, pressure is you know, on our perimeter players is something that they're used to. It's how we practice. You know, it's something that I think our kids, you know, expect in a big-time ball game. You know, certainly that's not discrediting Baylor in any way to say it's just going to be like what we faced. I think they're very talented, and I think they take great pride, you know, in trying to pressure the ball, get out in passing lanes and disrupt. And so we've got, you know, one day to make sure that we're paying attention to that and really sharp meeting passes and expecting what that's going to feel like as best we can.
I could just follow up on that. So will you look at something like how you guys went against Kentucky? Is that with such a short period of time to prepare, is that something where you kind of go back and say, okay, well, we're going to kind of compare Baylor, Kentucky, or other teams we play and try to put in the stuff you used against those teams for this game?
Well, I don't think it's as much of putting in new stuff or that sort of a thing. I think more than anything, especially as coaches, we just try to make our players very aware of what they've faced up until this point and really confident that although this is a great team that is very capable of bringing the heat on the perimeter, it's not our first, second, third, fifth, or eighth time facing that. When you play against teams like Tennessee, we've already mentioned Kentucky, you know, Georgia is another one of those teams that's very long and very capable of, you know, making it hard for you to see or just to reverse the ball sometimes. So, you know, I think we, more so than anything, just try to focus on what we've already experienced and generate confidence. When you got one day, you've got to look back and know that, you know, maybe you've already fought a little bit of this sort of battle before, and, you know, and how did we do? Where did we fall short? Where did we succeed? And let's draw some confidence from that past experience.
Anything else for the coach? Everybody good?
All right,
Coach,
thanks.
thank you very much.